This video will show you how to create and manage Smartsheet Work Insights. Work Insights is a functionality that turns information in any sheet into visuals to aid analysis and decision making. The benefits of using Work Insights are that the visuals are different to those in dashboards, and you can evaluate data at a chosen date or range in time, and that's quite different to what we see in reports and metrics. Work Insights are available with Smartsheet Enterprise licenses. Let's get started in creating and managing Work Insights. So select the sheet you want to use, and this one's quite a good one because it's quite a large sheet with a lot of rows in it, and it contains information about projects that have been worked on. So first thing to do is go over to the right hand column and choose the Work Insights icon. So it's the little chart. If you just click on here, it will pop out. Now the first time you do this, it's going to take a minute or so for all the information in your sheet to be processed and ingested by the system, and the larger the sheet, obviously a little bit longer it will take. I've already set this one up so that we're ready to go today. So there are 4 types of Work Insight available. There's Column Snapshot, Time Series, Crosstabs and Burndown charts. The first 3, Column, Time Series and Crosstabs, will generate automatically, so we'll look at each of those in this sheet. Burndown doesn't generate automatically, and we'll look at that in a separate sheet designed specifically for it. First thing to do, once your Work Insights have generated the default version, is let's pop them out from the panel to make it a little bit easier to work with and make them larger. So if you go up here to the arrows and click, first up is Column Snapshot. This visualises the count of the rows split between the values in a selected column. This is great for asking how many or frequency questions. By clicking on the blue text, you can change the date here, so you can customise your date, or you can choose the most recent, which will be today. And then you can choose to look at another column. So the columns that you can choose from are drop downs, either single or multiple, symbols or contact lists. So when I click on here, you can see all the columns that meet that criteria are available to me here. Further refinement is available by using filters. So again, we can filter in the classic way. So if you click on the little filter icon, we go over to here, and I'm going to select Project Manager. So I'm going to select my type, and I'm going to see contains, and I'm going to look for my own project. So if I type my name in here and ask it to find those. Now, in a minute, what you can see is that our numbers have changed, and all we're looking at now is the split by product category types of the products that I'm managing. At this point, you might be thinking, well, that's great, but I want to see visuals for all my people at the same time. And the good news is you can. So if we just close this filter here, and then we go to the 3 dots here. So you can rename, duplicate or delete here. So if I was in to then duplicate this, you can see I have another chart here. I can then go back here to this one and rename this as Alison's Projects. And now we have them for May. And again, you can see it's the same because I've duplicated it. But if I were to go back and change my filter here and change that to my project manager being Gary, you can see that we've got a different set of products here. So again, I can click on here, close my filter, click on here, rename, and rename this to Gary's Project. So the filter and the name, rename, duplicate, delete is exactly the same in all the types of projects and all the types of visuals here. So it will just be easy for you to change and work around them as much as you wish. So that's Column Snapshot as the first one. The next one is Time Series, and again, this can be changed using the blue text. So the first thing is here, we're looking at cumulative count of the rows per category with all the values. The other option here is to add this to newly added. So if you want to look at how work is being added, then again, this is the best one to use. You can just flick between them. Again, you can have multiple versions of this with a cumulative and a newly added running at the same time. So again, you can change your categories, and you have an option here to just select certain values within the category. If we go back to cumulative, you can see here we have a date range. So again, you can choose that to be what it is. I'm just looking at this in the last 30 days. And finally here in the bottom corner, we have month, week and day. So we are looking at each of the weeks in this period, but we could change that to month. So we're seeing July and August because it crosses across both months, or we could change that down to day, and that's the smallest time scale we have there. And you can just scroll along to see the information as we go. And the Time Series is great for looking at performance or workload over time. And the final visual we'll look at in this sheet is the crosstab, this third one along here. And this is like a mini 2-dimensional pivot that gives our row count at the cross points. So in this case, for the COLA category, we have 24 approved projects, 1 in progress and 1 declined. The horizontal and the vertical dimensions both be moved, again using the blue text at the top here. So if we were to change that to brand manager by project approval, you can see our brand manager names here. And then again, if you wish to change that and put that against categories, that will do that. And again, there is a scrolling option here, so you can go as you wish. Again, we have a time date here. Automatically, it will come to today, and that will update itself each day. It does only update itself once a day, so there is a refresh button that you can click on the original panel to force it to do it more often. But again, you can completely change that date as you wish there. And as we've seen before, the filter and the 3 dots have the same information there as we have. Now let's head over to another sheet to look at the burndown chart. To create or manage a burndown chart, we start in exactly the same way. We click on the Work Insights panel, small chart on the right hand side. Before we expand and look at the chart in more detail, I'll explain why it's different. Burndown charts are predominantly used in IT, and they're used to track the amount of effort in a bounded time period, usually a sprint. So time or spend is often used as a proxy for effort, and in this case I'm using value, so spend against each task and row. So for a burndown chart, we need this column containing the effort, in this case the value. The next column that we need is one that tracks if the task or the row is complete, i.e. that value has been burnt. And then we need a column that identifies if the row is to be included. Now commonly that column would identify a sprint number, but that could also be a name, but you also may use stage or phases in different types of projects. You don't need to include a date column here, as the Work Insight is reading the date the column changed. So let's open the panel out now and look at the chart a little bit more. As you can see, we have a date range here. Now when the date range is chosen, it's always assumed that this is the time in which the entire effort will be expended, and a linear regression line is drawn from the start to the end date of that period, and that's your expected burn down. The bars are the actual burn down, so as the value is ticked off as complete, it's taken off the total. As you can see, the line, the expected burn down, gets down to the 0, but the bars are still above it. Now they are the actual burn down. Now this indicates that the sprint has not been delivered to plan and is running over time. And if we were to look back at the sheet, we would see that sprint 1 hasn't been completed, and therefore the visual is a true reflection. To change the parameters of a burn down chart, you can either choose it by filter or by another option on the 3 buttons here, as well as the usual rename, duplicate, delete, configure. And what this will do is this is going to open a panel and where you can start to choose the different elements of your chart. So the first one is it's going to ask which column are you using to track effort. So as we said, that could be spend, it could be time, it could be another measure, but you have to select the one that corresponds. It's then asking how do you know if something is completed. So what column and what is its criteria. The next one is you're looking for the column to identify the in-scope items. So that's which sprint are we looking at. So that's the sprint column. And in this case, we've selected to look at sprint 1. And then your date range. So remember that this will automatically assume that your final date in the date range is the date where you should have reached 0, i.e. you have burnt through all your effort. You then have the option to change the chart title and the axis labels. In this case, I'm just going to leave that as burn down because that's what it is, and it's spend because that's what I've chosen to look at. And finally, if you wish to add a filter, you can, and it's just done in exactly the same way, but here we're only given the choice of assign to or sprint. So again, and if you want to see the filter off, there is a remove button. So if I just close that down, again, you can see click here and move with these buttons to change what you need to do. I should mention that when you're selecting your columns for your burn down, if you select columns that don't fit with the criteria we've discussed, the chart will remain blank. So now we've looked at all 4 work insights available, the column snapshot, the time series, the crosstab and the burn down chart. You'll be able to use these in your own sheets to better evaluate your information and aid better and more timely decision making. Thank you.